This is a little behind the scenes into our latest data, research, findings, my latest presentation. As you know, I'm traveling around the country giving these presentations and uniting people for dinners. This one's a little bit different though. Real Property Management asked us to help put together a 2-day workshop around maintenance. And we were super pumped to partner with them, and their team over there did a really, really good job. After they presented at the end of day one, the essentially org chart of maintenance, right? Like how to organize a maintenance department, how to staff it. We followed that up with a presentation around the new math of the maintenance org chart. In which we talk about what the capabilities of a maintenance coordinator look like from a mathematical standpoint, right? Like when it's going from most maintenance coordinators going an average of 200 doors per maintenance coordinator. Top performers are at 400. We talk about what we're seeing our clients at the high end, how much they're doing per maintenance coordinator, why that works, right? Like explaining the math behind that and how they are implementing and having success. I think you're really going to like this presentation, and I would love to know what you think about it. Let me know. Enjoy. Welcome to the Property Management Frame Breakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. All right, y'all. So I'm Pablo. This is Nick. And Devin asked us to come up here and just show useful stuff that you can implement, whether or not you're using Vendoroo or not, right? Like how to think about AI when it comes to maintenance and how it affects this like framework that everybody's implementing in their business. I guess the first question I would like to ask here, and I'm surprising Nick with this, is who here can explain the difference between generative AI and agentic AI? Anybody want to take a shot at explaining the difference between the two?
I can't take surprises right now, Pablo.
Let me ask ChatGPT.
Yeah. well, let me ask something else, right? Agentic AI, is that a new term to anybody here?
Yes. No.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's just start there, right? The majority of AI that we have experienced, that everybody's here has put something into ChatGPT, right? Right. That's generative AI, right? Like burst out on the scene a couple years ago. Kind of magical, right? Kind of like a genie. You get to rub the lamp and ask it a wish, and it rewards you with a magical answer, and then you can have a million wishes, right? And that's what generative AI is, right? It's this kind of like thing that allows you to do your job better, allows you to do your job faster, allows you to get answers faster, these kinds of things, but you're the one doing it. Agentic AI is the next iteration of AI. It's what happens when you put generative AI into these like intelligent workflows and have it doing things, and it starts to perform not so much like a genie, but more like a Terminator, right? You give it a job, and it continues to do the job until it can't anymore. And I say Terminator, not a very positive connotation, right? We give it better jobs than that, right? But at the end of the day, generative allows you to do your job better, faster, cheaper, whatever. Agentic is made to do the job for you so you can go do something else. And we are right now in this dawn of agentic AI, right? Like we've been at it for about 2 years, kind of like the first ones in the space that started talking about this stuff. We're no longer alone here. This technology has been verified. There's other people that are doing this that look like us, and now there's a whole bunch of like DIY options. Everybody that's like beating their chest around what they're doing with OpenClaw or Claude Code, they're building their own agents, right? I think you were talking about developing your own AI as we started this presentation, right? That's now doable. So what does that mean? What does it mean now that you can program your own little robot mini-me, that can do the job that you didn't want to do in the first place so you can do better stuff, right? So we're going to talk about how that affects that, how AI is changing the math in maintenance. And because we've now done this thing 500 plus times, we've also seen the 3 big mistakes that folks make as they're rolling this thing out. We figured that would be the most valuable thing to share, unless you rather us do a cappella karaoke right now. Whichever one, wherever there's value.
I was really hoping for that one.
Right. So yeah, we're going to talk about the new math. We're going to talk about what this math now evolves the role of the maintenance coordinator into, the 3 mistakes to avoid, and then because we've been doing this now for 2 years, we see ourselves as like the kind of like standard bearers of what's coming next. We're at the bleeding edge here, and we're starting to see some new things happening that we think where everybody's going to start to have to deal with as well, that we want to just kind of like paint the picture of, get you prepared for it, right? So the new math, well, the old math. Let's talk about the old math, right? I think is this the standard that everybody here has heard? Basically, one maintenance coordinator for 200 doors. We got maintenance coordinators in this room. About how many doors is your capacity? Would you say fair? About 500. Yeah, top notch maintenance coordinators, right? 400 or 500. Do you want to tell me what's involved in your role, right? Like we were putting this in together. We're like, well, this is what they do today. I'm like, we got like 10 great maintenance coordinators in this room right now, right? Like, what does your day look like? What are you doing? Anybody?
Putting out fires.
Putting out fires. That's a good way.
Good way to put that.
We've got more of that later, right? But yeah, you wanna.
Yeah, I mean, like your maintenance coordinator is tasked with one of the most daunting jobs in property management. You are the front line on basically anything that could possibly go wrong. So you're looking at, you've got to take the call at like 6-7 p.m. when you're trying to enjoy dinner of your resident has had a problem and now you have an emergency on your hands and you've got to act, you've got to do something. You need to be able to report to a bunch of different stakeholders. They always call you at 10 p.m. or 2 in the morning, and you need to have given them the answer yesterday, and they hadn't even asked you the question. So the job is daunting, and it's not a regular business hours job. You're on call basically 24 hours a day because of all of the moving pieces. You're coordinating with vendors, you're coordinating with residents, you're triaging and troubleshooting, and you're trying to protect your fiduciary responsibility to your owners. So there's a lot going on, and it can be difficult to deal with. I'd love to just ask the question, do any maintenance coordinators ever think to themselves, gosh, I'm really looking forward to the next resident phone call? No, I mean, obviously not. You are, you're focusing so much on all of these problems that you really don't have the time to be proactive and really help your residents to not have these issues in the first place, or be able to come in and look like that superhero.
Yeah, firefighter, bullet taker, right? Because it's such a task-intensive job, right? Like what AI has started showing us, which was kind of surprising to see, is that every maintenance work order that comes in takes somewhere between like 17 to 22 touch points to resolve, right? Like 17 to 22 tasks, decisions, judgment calls, things to like follow up on that could break, right? And as a result, you spend most of your time doing that stuff, right? So these are the numbers that are being changed by AI. This is what our AI is showing us right now. I'm just going to high level talk about it, and then Nick will explain a little bit. 98% of decisions can now be handled by AI. That's not 98% of work orders handled by AI. That's these decisions that we're talking about, right? Like out of those 17 to 22, 98% can be done. We're seeing a 42% reduction in open work orders when a portfolio comes in, right? Portfolio comes in, I think on average, like 19% of their doors have an open work order. When AI starts doing its thing, it drops down to like 9%, right, of open work orders. We're going to talk about why that's happening. And then on average, 9.6% of work orders resolved without dispatching a vendor. So let's dig into it. How would you describe this 98%?
So the 98%, you hit the nail on the head. There's up to 22 real decisions that need to happen on any given work order. As you're starting to see that really turns into, on average, you're going from having a number of real hard decisions that you're making, between averaging around 9 up to that whole 22, and having to decide what to do on every single task that's associated with it, to basically every other work order, every 1 or 2 or 1 in 3, you've got a decision to make, which is a huge relief. So it's not saying that you're not going to be involved in 98%. You're only going to touch 2% of the work orders. You're just going to have most of the tasks associated with them and the things that you don't want to be spending your time on automated, so that you can spend your time on the things that you actually want to spend your time on that you never get to touch.
Yeah. So that's that, right? So like think about it. Going from 17 to 20 things that you got to do in every work order to like 1 in every 2 to 3 work orders you got to do something in it, right? 42% in open work orders comes from 2 different places, right? Like in reduction open work orders comes from 2 different places. One is AI is always on, always the capacity, right? Like 10 people can be talking to the AI at once, only 1 person can talk to you at the same time, right? So the availability for AI to answer the request the moment that it's happening and immediately initiate that like troubleshooting triage piece actually is shortening the amount of time that work orders are open, right? Like somebody is trying to do laundry on 4th of July at 9:30 p.m. because their kid's got a, they're about to go on a trip or something like that, and they can troubleshoot the laundry machine with an AI, and you can resolve it that night, right? Like that's not going to lead to an open work order. That's actually a real case study that we have. And then the other piece is there's a lot of work orders that are open because of unclear work order closeout conditions, right? Or just the idea that like, man, I just got through most of this. This like last piece to close it out is I'd rather go put out another fire than, do these last little 3 steps to have this completely closed out. But that ends up resulting in like open tabs in the brain, right? So having an AI that can just like go through all that stuff, closes those things out. We see this happening pretty instantaneously in our data set of this like 42% of tabs in the brain get closed immediately. Now you're focusing on the rest of it. And then that's 9.6% of work orders resolved without a vendor. I think it's pretty easy to understand, but Nick, you have a little bit of extra.
It's not saying like 9.6% of work orders get troubleshot and then no vendor needs to be dispatched. There's 2 real subsets of that. There's the troubleshooting, sure, because your AI is able to be engaged and troubleshoot on every work order and prevent those work orders from ever needing actual maintenance because the resident's able to self-resolve, which is the dream, right? But you also have the other half of that, which is making sure that your AI is always familiar with your policies and whose responsibility it is and holding the resident accountable when it's their responsibility to mow the lawn. So it doesn't turn into a work order and then you have a dispatch and then you turn out, oh, well, it was resident responsibility and we sent the vendor, so now we either need to do a charge back to the resident or we eat the cost. So you're able to have your AI always paying attention to your policies and making sure that the responsibility is always being adhered to.
Right, so this is real data. What we're here to talk about is how that changes the math, how that changes the org chart architecture, right? So like think about it. From like 17 to 20 things per work order to like 1 every 2 or 3, 42% less of them are open and 10% are being troubleshot without a vendor. How does that actually change the math? This is what we're seeing. It's going from 1 maintenance coordinator for 200 doors to 400 doors, right? For high performing, that's actually what we have here. I thought it said high performing ones at 400. 2, we now have clients that are in this like 1 maintenance coordinator handling 1,200, 1,400 doors, and they have capacity to continue to scale. That's how drastic the math becomes, right? I think that's pretty self-explanatory, right? It's just like the compounding of all of that stuff. So what does that mean, right? Like, what does that mean? I think the majority of the world, it means you have 3 things that you can do here, right? I think the majority of the world, the fear media around AI, focuses on that first one, reduction of headcount. We're going to need less people, right? Sure. When you have 1 maintenance coordinator for 1 to 2,000 doors versus 200, yes, you need less people for that piece. But we're also discounting the other 2 things that come from this, right? The capacity increase of what more you get to do, the things that you can do, and not just do, but do well, right? When you don't have 10 things that you got to get back to, and now you're taking this highly sensitive, highly escalated resident on a call or highly escalated owner on a call, and you're just thinking, man, I've got this like to-do list of 20 other things and 20 other emails I got to get to. I can actually be present for this thing, right? Like you get to do that stuff much better. You get to show up for the moments that really, really matter in a meaningful way, not just show up in the moments that matter the same way that you show up for like every other moment that's just like a click of a button, right? So increase in quality and increase in output. And then, this is our favorite piece, is doing better work, right? We talked about this. If AI is now a teammate that you can hire to do the stuff that, like allows you to like free yourself to do better work, now you can do that, right? You can give the AI the mundane, repetitive, task-based, structured work that takes up 80% of your day, and you can go really focus on that 20% and do all the other stuff you wish you could do. What does that look like, right? we talk about this as business owners all the time. I think this is a common thing. You go from managing trees to managing a forest, right? So let's talk about how you go from managing trees to managing a forest. You want to talk about this piece? This is first
Sure.
is like a reduction in like the trees, right?
So your average workflow is revolving around work order typing. So, and that's this typical maintenance workflow today. You'll be going through, you'll set up your day, you'll organize your work orders based on the priority. In order to do that, you need to look through all of the work orders and see what changes have happened, see what kind of communications have been going on, and manually review all of that. And sometimes you'll have to do that multiple times a day. So you're really diving into every single work order, every single ticket to absorb what's happening in the day. Where AI really helps you is rather than having to look at every single work order, the AI is telling you these work orders matter. Hey, I have three work orders that I've got questions on. I don't know, like I have a general idea of what to do on these, but I could use your guidance on this. But this one, the vendor's asking about COI requirements and I can't see that. So how do you want me to handle this? And then maybe you've got 2 open emergencies that you don't need to necessarily do anything, but you should review those because they could go sideways at any time. And then maybe someone else has a question, but then you're able to look at, great, here are all of the decisions that I've made on vendor assignments. Double check these. You don't have to tell me anything, but just make sure I made the right choice on those because that's where things can start going wrong. So once you've done that, you're looking at the highly important work orders when you need to look at them rather than having to review them the entire way through multiple times throughout the process.
Yeah, so let's say you're managing a forest, you go from having to like check every single tree to like all of a sudden now you have a magical forest fairy that tells you which trees are sick that you got to go like put a little bit of sod in or whatever, or water them, right? So that is reduction of trees that you have to manage. What does the forest look like? Well, in maintenance, there's 2 forests, right? There is the idea of managing your vendor base, and then there's the idea of managing the resident experience, which is kind of like what we all want to get to, right? So talked about dashboards earlier, right? You know, in our particular AI, as far as like doing this like vendor-based thing, you get this dashboard that shows you the distribution of what trades are doing what as a percentage of all the work that's being done and how many contractors you have in each of them, right? So you can start looking at your vendor distribution and seeing, man, you know what? Ray's handyman service is doing like 40% of my work orders. That's kind of a risk for me. What happens if Ray gets hit by a bus, right? Or Ray goes finds a bigger client than me, right? And he starts giving me less service. But now you have that insight to be like, okay, this is how little spread out I am. I got to go find 1, maybe 2 more handymen. And like, let's go test them out. And you now have that capacity to do that because you're managing the forest, right? Like you don't have to be all over every single work order. In the same way, you can see kind of like how each different vendor is performing. If all of a sudden you start seeing the amount of like messages that you got to send a specific vendor go up per work order, you can give that vendor a call and be like, hey man, are you really busy? Or is something wrong here, right? Like just like managing that relationship as property managers, I think your vendor network is kind of like that moat that's never going to go away, right? Like that's the thing that the DIY person would kill for, that really holds you around. So like working on the relationships with your vendors and managing that network and doing that proactively, that's one forest. And then there's the grassy knoll next to the forest, right?
Yeah.
Where people are suntanning.
So then you have the residents. So this is really where you're able to start leveraging AI to tell you about what's going on in the business in real time. Something that hasn't really been able to be done before on maintenance tickets is being able to see like an analysis of these are the work orders that your residents are having a average experience, an optimal experience, a suboptimal experience, and this is kind of how that's progressed. In real time, you're able to have AI analyze that, look at and flag it to you to see, great, this resident's having a great experience, maybe I should reach out to them and try to solicit a review. Or this resident was having a good experience, but then there was a vendor delay and now it's tanking, so maybe I should react to that in the moment and reach out to that vendor, find out what was going on, what caused that delay. If it was maybe they just got overwhelmed and they didn't respond to the resident, then I could coach them and correct them and say, hey, this is causing a negative experience for my resident. I'm probably going to get a bad review out of it. That can't happen. I need you to do X, Y, or Z. And now I've leaned in because if I get a bad review, I'm going to have to review my vendors, and I'm going to have to find another primary vendor. And then go to the resident and say, hey, I know you experienced this, but you didn't report it. This is what I've done to resolve this for you. I've already talked to the vendor. This is how I know it's not going to happen again. And now the resident feels validated. And more, you can tell the resident, hey, while I've got you, what else can I help you with? So now you're offering aid. You've turned the negative experience into at least a neutral one, depending on how bad the experience has been so far, to probably a positive one, because the resident now is A, validated, B, they see you as hyper observant, they see you as proactive, they see you as accountable. They didn't ask you to do any of this, they didn't report it, you just did it, and then you called them to tell them what was going on. They feel good about that. They feel like they've got the right management company supporting them. So by having all of those tools, you can have AI telling you when and where to lean in and really make yourself that superhero.
Yeah, Paige, I think we were talking about how real estate is this like emotional asset class, right? Like one way that you can handle those emotions is by letting people know that you're paying attention, right? Like that's the first thing to drop those emotions and make sure that like they feel heard, they feel supported. And I love that you talked about firefighting, right? Because to us, when you add all this up, your role as a maintenance coordinator goes from being a firefighter to just like quelling out embers, right? Like if you can put out embers before they become fires, now you're really working on this like high level stuff that isn't going to give you the Sunday scaries of just like, I got a Monday morning, I got to make all these calls and everybody's going to yell at me kind of thing, right? So this is where we see it's going, right? This math that's allowing for your capacity to increase and for your new work to do, this is the new work. It's no longer every single work order, every single task. It's now the work orders, the moments in the work orders that need your help, and then manage the vendor base, manage the resident experience, and have not just the capacity to do it because you're not drowning over here, but you also have the intel to do it because the AI can tell you resident sentiment in real time, and you can get to it before the Google review, right? Like you can not just like get to it before the Google review, but you can turn that experience around to be a positive Google review, right? Like these people are on it, I'm in, right? From an owner, from a resident, right? That idea of not just managing the forest instead of the trees, but really working on putting out embers before fires start is truly the big frame-breaking thing that's happening right now inside of the Vendoroo client base. And I got news for you. That doesn't happen at these lower levels of automation that the typical AI out there is doing, right? Like these other AI agents that won't allow you to fully customize, that won't allow you to offload the interruptions and don't normalize these edge cases to make it truly yours and not disruptive for your team, do not allow for this idea of managing resident sentiment in real time, which to me is a total game changer in what you are able to deliver to your clients, to your residents, to all of your stakeholders involved. That only works with Vendoroo right now. So if this is something that you want to do, right now is the time to get on this. Once somebody's doing this in your market, everybody in your market is going to expect this, or that one person doing it is going to eat your lunch. So it might as well be you. Might as well be you that owns the market by being able to manage resident experience in real time, being able to show that off on sales calls, being able to deliver on it for your owners, drive that word of mouth flywheel. Go to vendoroo.ai, schedule a demo, ask the sales team to show you how people are doing that, because it's a true game changer. Right now is the time to get on board. Go to vendoroo.ai and start doing it. Start putting out embers instead of putting out fires. Win your market. Vendoroo.ai. So let's talk about the rollout, right? If that's how the role changes, how do you roll this thing out in a way that ensures it? Because what we're really seeing right now is that over the last 2 years, I've had to build a bunch of belief that all this stuff is possible. Now these are stats, right? Like this is very real. Other people are talking about this is happening. So it's not so much about the technology anymore as much as like the implementation, right? Because we're seeing this happen across the board. The first mistake that we see people doing is treating an agentic AI rollout as a software implementation instead of as the teammate that we described. What I mean by that is that when you buy a software, day one is about 90 to 95% as good as it's ever going to be, right? Like it's like, dude, I bought it because it can do this thing. If it can't do this thing, I'm not really buying this thing because I'm not waiting to put in a work ticket and get this feature maybe in 6 months or a year or whatever, right? So this idea of why can't it do this already is very, very real. Think about onboarding a teammate. When you onboard a teammate, the day that they show up, if you are managing them well, is going to be the day that they're worst at their job, right? That's how agentic AI performs, right? Agentic AI, at least ours, has about the experience of like an 8 to 9 year maintenance coordination veteran, but it's never worked for you, right? It's worked for the person down the street. So they're going to show up, they're going to be enthusiastic, it's going to know how to do a bunch of stuff, it's going to, at some points, it's going to raise its hand, it's going to need some help, right? And this idea of like, oh, it should be able to do this, it's AI, that's software mentality. It's, oh, okay, it needs help here. What is the thing that I need to tell it so that it never needs this help again? Because it's going to continue to learn and be like me, just like an employee. So what we see works really well across our 500 agentic AI deployments is the first 30 days, we've kind of like parsed it out to like 3 phases, right? Which roughly match 30 days apiece, right? First 30 days, be the overprotective parent, overbearing boss, right? Like you brought in this agentic AI, you're the maintenance coordinator, you're not going to just let it do its thing, you're going to watch that thing like a hawk, right? Like you're going to see everything it's doing. You're still in the role of handling all the different work orders, but what you're really doing is watching it do its thing, and you're going to be learning. You're going to be seeing it, you're going to be correcting it sometimes. Sometimes you're going to ask it why it's doing it, right? Like you're going to learn to work with this thing, and you're going to give it some feedback, and it's going to give you feedback, and you're going to learn a couple things. We call that the 30 days of learning. The next phase is when you start to delegate, right? Hey, this person's here, they're showing some promise, I can let go of the leash a little bit, right? Let it do its thing, let it learn some more on its own, but continue to manage like trust but verify, right? You continue to have, if it was an employee, you would have one-on-ones with them at least once a week, right? If they're only 30 days into the job. Continue to do that, right? Continue to have purposeful check-ins with your new employee where you are now like going through the exceptions and continuing to coach it, continue to ask questions, and let it continue to go, right? If you continue to do that in around 60 days, now it's really humming. Now it's really doing those things that these statistics have shown it can do. And now you're in this like optimized mode. Now you're like, all right, what else can I do around this thing? That's when you really start managing the force, optimizing the vendor network, asking Nick, hey, what are other people doing that I can also add this little trick to, right? Like those kinds of things. It's one-to-one, the feeling of the first time you ever worked with a VA, right? Like just think about it. It's a new way of working with somebody new. It's a person. You know that they have a skill set, but you know it's got like a new way of managing it, right? That's what it really, really feels like. I'm gonna repeat that again.
Before you dive into that, one thing I'll say on that as well. So it's important to think of your AI as a digital teammate. So as Pablo was saying, have the one-on-ones with it, talk to it, understand what's going on. But as you're progressing it through the stages, the same way that you would trust a human teammate and a human hire, you want to start making sure that you're actively giving it tasks that you're trusting it with and watching that happen. And that's really the definition of that trust but verify. Yeah. Let it do what it's supposed to do and let it carry that out and watch and just observe, verify it's making the right choice. Lean in, give it feedback when it's potentially going to make the wrong choice. It will tell you what it's going to do if you ask it. Yeah. So in any AI, if you ask it what is your plan, it will tell you what its plan is. And then you're able to then go, great, you might need to change these things. And that's how you trust it's going to do it, but you're verifying that it's going to make the right choice.
Good stuff. Mistake number 2. Has anybody, this literally happened to me like 2 months ago. Have you ever hired somebody super talented, super enthusiastic, super go-getter, really fast at what they do? You're really pumped to bring them on, but like by week 3, they're bringing you so much extra stuff because they're so, like they really want to help. Like it's like, oh, I saw this and now I did this, and I need you to review this because I want to do that and I want to do that. And like, what about this idea, boss? Right? It's a great hire. That's the type of character you want on your team, but it can feel daunting as a leader that you're like, I'm hiring you because I have a full-time job and I want to do something else and I need you to go do a couple of things, right? AI is just like that, right? At a rapid rate, it's able to like crush through the tasks you gave it. It's able to like get to the bottom of like where it stops really, really fast, and it's going to raise its hand and it's going to give you suggestions and it's going to do these kinds of things. So understanding where those escalation paths go and how you shield the people that need to be shielded from that. It might be you, it might be someone on your team, right? That you might need to give this to someone that like babysits this thing, or if you were working with an agentic provider, ask it who shields kind of like the edge cases before they get to me on your team. Like, do you have someone that supports it before it gets to me, so I don't have this waterfall of thing, right? That's totally normal. Think about working with a VA for the first time. Some of us went to onlinejobs.ph, found a VA, implemented it, went through the process themselves. Other of us have used a VA hiring service that may have helped us find the VA, helped us train the VA, helped us manage the VA on one-on-ones, gave us some training on how to do it, right? You have that choice now. Now that there's multiple agentic AI providers, you can build your own, you can work with ones that are going to build it for you, you can work with others that have a team that help you do this stuff. But the number one question to ask is, what does the escalation path look like? How much of these hand raises from my superstar, over-enthusiastic employee are you going to handle versus me having to answer every single question? Because if you think about it, right? If you give this to your maintenance coordinator, you're like, hey, go train this new superstar that's going to be real good at your job, and that superstar is just asking him questions nonstop, the chances of you want to be like, dude, I'm done training this dude, right, are pretty high, right? And that leads to the third mistake, and it's this idea of like sabotage, right? Like employee sabotage is very, very real. We see it across, and I'm here to tell you that I totally get it. Think about it. Well, all right, I rarely get to do this presentation with a room full of maintenance coordinators. Who here low-key hates me? Right, like who here is hearing me saying, oh, the AI is going to do all this stuff, and you're just sitting here thinking, dude, I've been doing this, and like you're telling me an AI is going to do this, it's going to do it better than me, get out of here, bro. Right, like as a business owner, when you are thinking, hey, I've got this new thing that I'm going to implement, and it's going to allow us to be more efficient, and it's going to allow us to drive these better business results, it's totally natural for the person on your team to actually be hearing, what you're telling me is that you don't need me anymore, right? And that's a very normal fear, particularly with AI, when the whole world is telling us that AI is coming for our job, right? So what do we need to do as leaders? We need to have this exact conversation that we're having right now, is paint the picture of what's in it for you, right? It's not, guess what? We're going to get an AI maintenance coordinator because we don't need AI, we don't need maintenance coordination anymore. We're going to hire this AI, it's going to do these roles that, by the way, I feel bad for you every time I see you doing it, so that you can do this stuff, which we've always wanted to do, and you get to move the needle, and you get to like, build relationships and make people feel good instead of just taking bullets, and like, this is what it's going to feel like day 30 and day 60 and day 90, and these are how we're going to handle escalations, and this is your new role. You're going to manage forests through the trees, and you're going to be putting out embers over fires, right? So many of us are so quick to bringing a new solution, or, we've been doing this as business owners forever, right? Like, I just hired somebody, they're going to do this thing better than you were going to do it, instead of really integrating a teammate into the team and telling the existing team, you got nothing to worry about here, right? Like, this is being done to make your job better, make your life easier, yes, it's going to make the business run better, we're going to have more capacity, we're going to make more money, but your role is going to be better on this team. Very different message than we're going to AI your department, right?
It allows you to actually get the team focused on the tasks that they want to do in the first place, not the tasks that drags them down and frankly most of them hate doing and don't want to do. So that's really where that comes from, is being able to refocus and drive that home, and as Pablo put it, move the needle, because everybody wants to feel valued. Everybody wants to feel that their work is valuable. Mm-hmm. And when you're stuck doing the same thing over and over and over again, it's hard to not feel like a cog in a machine.
Yeah. And this comes from the thing that we've really learned from just having done this for a while, right? I don't know if y'all have kind of like know our history, but the reason that we were so early to like the agentic solution thing is because we set out to say, if we're going to really transform the way maintenance works, we can't kind of just like cut into it little by little. That's only going to allow people to do their job better, faster, whatever. If we're going to change the role of the maintenance coordinator into this AI first way, we first need to own the outcome, right? And 2 years ago, it was impossible to own the outcome with an agentic AI that could do this, right? So we effectively had to build a outsourced maintenance department that could run your AI maintenance department, like your maintenance, informing an AI, being informed by an AI, and doing it faster than anybody else because they had generative AI that was becoming an agent, right? That allowed us to learn enough of like how you're going to manage it as a VA, blah, 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 all these different things. But more relevant to the story is at a certain point, the AI got good enough to make the decisions, but we still didn't trust it enough to make the action, right? So our team's role evolved from like, all right, now you're doing all this stuff while doing with this AI, to now the AI is doing this and you're doing this part. And then at a certain point, the AI got good enough to make the decision and take the action. And we had this moment, right? Like we were in a leadership retreat in Sonoma in September of 2025, and we're like, man, what are we gonna do with this team of like 50 expert maintenance coordinators that we've now like trained up to do this? They're experts in AI unlike anybody else. Now that the AI is doing it, do we let them go? It's a real question, right? Team of 40, 50 people, it's a real cost. What we decided to do was what we're encouraging everybody to do. Ask yourself, where does my human teammate now add value in a way that AI never could, that could really move the needle for my client, right? For maintenance coordinators in this room, it's going to be that vendor network, it's going to be that resident experience. For us, it was, how do we put this team of 40, 50 people to help you through those 3 mistakes, right? To like, as you're onboarding, be your coach that helps you through that 30, 60, 90-day plan. How can they like right-size your processes so that you're not scaling chaos? How do they handle those edge cases? How do they help you manage this transition? Because at the end of the day, when you succeed with this, you're going to come to a crossroads. You're going to have the option to automate away from people or automate towards them. For us, it's really, really clear, right? Like you automate towards people. And that's the vision that you got to like tell your team as you are onboarding AI and doing this stuff, right? Like we're not here to automate away from you. We're here to make you more human. We were just talking about this, right? The most AI company can be the most like automated company that exists somewhere and nobody sees anybody, or you can use AI to do all the tasks so that you're there for the relationships, for like the moments that matter, to be fully present when somebody really, really needs you, as opposed to be rushed, right? You can be the most human company by being the most AI company. And we really believe that this is where it's going. Those of us that automate away from humans are going to lose. I think those of us that automate towards humans are going to win.
It also really allows you to evangelize your own business and be associated with what you want to be associated with.
Correct. And this, I mean, this is kind of the takeaway here, right? Like you want to avoid these 3 mistakes as you are thinking about how you implement agentic AI in your business, right? Know what the onboarding looks like. How supported is it? Are you going to help me train this thing? Am I hiring a VA by myself, or am I hiring that like agency that allows me to coach the VA and like do all these different kinds of things? You have that option. Ask, where's the escalation going to go? Do you have someone in-house that's going to bear the brunt of all these hand raises? That's okay if you do. Just know that it's coming. Or work with someone that has a human in the loop that can help you with that, right? Like ask these questions so that you know what you're getting into, so that you don't fall into these traps. And then last but not least, this is kind of self-serving, but like work with operators that have done it themselves. I'm a really big believer in dog fooding, right? Like I think that because we have been through this transition of going from like human first to human plus AI to AI first, and then figuring out what to do with our humans, that allows us to now coach people in this like new thing that they're all going to encounter. And I promise you that we're going to continue to be like 6 months to a year ahead of whatever anybody encounters, because we're at this edge and we have this team of people that are doing it, right? So, but the most important thing is the AI thing is happening, right? Like the technology is there, it's working. The number one thing that you have to do is de-risk the implementation, right? Like right now, in this moment, when everything is changing so quickly, to show up and ask your team to like start something new that's going to fail in 6 months is a really, really high cost, not just of, like speed or whatever that you can do to like gain on your market or make your business better during this AI thing and make you feel like you have more FOMO, but just like relationship capital that you have with your team right now. This is a really, really scary moment for everybody. I'm terrified of it all. right? Like it's hard to like navigate the world right now, right? So like how we do this in a safe way to us is the number one decision that you should be doing as you're rolling out. And this is the only kind of like sales piece thing that I want to say is we really want to be that team for everybody here, right? Like these are our real statistics of like what is happening inside of our system. We kind of went over through some of these, but we're seeing this 94% level of resident satisfaction. Now that AI is able to measure resident satisfaction in real time, this is what we're seeing right now across our client base, and our average client is growing doors by 30% plus. And two reasons, right? Like we always thought if we get you out of maintenance, you can go grow more doors, right? Like we're like, oh, high-fiving because that's happening. Recently, he was actually in Atlanta, Ravi Varanasi, who's a real property management Varanasi. He recently shared with me that when he's like competing with another property manager, when he's talking to like an owner and he's competing with another property manager with lower fees, and he talks about like, well, we have AI, and the guy's like, why do I care about that? He will literally like call his AI agent on the phone, demo it for the owner, and be like, look at what's happening. Do you think that this other guy at 5% fees is answering every single call this quickly and troubleshooting everything this quickly and doing all this stuff? Like, this is a real differentiator in the market right now. And you can be the one that differentiates it, right? Like the moment that your market gets accustomed to every single one of my maintenance requests and all of my properties are being properly troubleshot and properly triaged, and I have 99.9% vendor assignment accuracy and I'm not having to pay extra money for it, that's going to be the standard in your market. So it's a big, big opportunity to go out and build your business, and we'd love to help you with that. That's it. We'll take any and all questions. Nick's going to answer all the questions.
One thing I will say as well, kind of piggybacking off of all that, one of the most important things that you can do while looking at implementing AI throughout your business is understanding, as a couple of slides ago, Pablo had it listed as the second point, which is the human in the loop team. Understand whatever task you're doing, know that task inside and out before you put the protocol in place, because your AI is only going to be as good as the SLA that it's following, right? And the SOP that it's following. So, but understanding that the workflow is going to break at some point or another. You are going to have an issue with it, and you're going to have an edge case. How are you handling those exceptions? So exception handling is the biggest piece of AI, and that's something that a lot of people do not think about when they're implementing AI throughout their business for one reason or another. And when you don't think about it, you're the one handling the exceptions, or someone on your team is the one handling those exceptions. And then keep in mind that these exceptions, sure, they're going to be happening here or there, but your AI is handling a lot of tasks at the same time, so that can compound. And now that human person on your team is now getting overloaded with, I have to do all of these exceptions, and now I hate my life. So that's because that's now all they're doing is handling exceptions. And now they again feel like a cog in a machine. So thinking through who's handling those exceptions is one of the most important, most critical pieces of implementing any AI for anything in your business when you're looking at agentic AI. Generative AI is a different story. You are getting what you put into the generative AI, and then you're able to take that and do something with it, but you're the one who's acting. When agentic AI is working, that human in the loop is the critical component that will make or break your business. So,
any questions?
Questions?
When the work order comes in, what happens?
This is so fantastic. So the work order comes in two different ways. Either the tenant generates it right in AppFolio, or they call and they say this is a problem. So we'll use the example of my garbage disposal isn't working. Ours is named Gracie. Gracie will then troubleshoot. And because Gracie has been empowered with a knowledge base, Gracie knows what questions to ask. Have you reset the button? Is the motor running? All these different questions, right? And then either by text or live on the call, they will ask these troubleshooting questions. During that same time, now if there's another call coming in, Gracie answers that too at the same time, because Gracie isn't a human. And then Gracie is also then putting in the work order notes, either creating a work order if one wasn't created because it's a call-in, or then putting into the work order the triage questions and answers. Then, based on the vendor go-to vendors, they'll go to the whatever her answer is. So it could be by region, it could be by priority, will then assign the plumber, or in our case, handyman first. So the handyman goes first, and that's something that we've created beforehand. Handyman gets a text and an email as a request, then the handyman accepts. If the handyman doesn't accept, Gracie then notifies us and notifies the vendor again, asking if they're going to accept or not. If they say no or don't respond by a certain amount of time, then Gracie goes to the next one. Is that a good answer?
Yeah.
Yeah. And from there, basically, the Gracie will see the work order through completion, follow whatever closure conditions you have, and however you want to have the work order closed out, and understand that sometimes maybe you want to have when your resident becomes non-responsive and the work order hasn't been scheduled yet, and they just kind of fall off. Send them a message and say, hey, it looks like you've got it under control. I'm going to go ahead and close out the work order. By all means, feel free to reopen the work order if the problem's persisting. But you don't want to always do that, because what if it's an emergency, or what if it's an urgent item that could cause additional property damage? That's where now you're shifting into, great, let's go ahead and, depending on how your policies work and your notice period, serve them their notice to entry period and dispatch the vendor. So you can have that completely tailored to how your business goes, all the way through collecting invoices, collecting pictures, putting them into the work order, or even piggybacking off of tools that you already have available. Maybe you use smart billing through Appfolio, and walking the vendor through utilizing smart billing, or helping them utilize the vendor portal more. Understanding there's limitations to the vendor portal, like you can't change the language on the vendor portal. So if you have a small like 1 or 2 person show that doesn't speak English, the vendor portal is only in English. So being able to then communicate with that person in the language that they prefer, and gather the information and put it into the portal for them, is also extraordinarily helpful to increase your vendor portal compliance.
Yeah, and Gracie's actually coordinating that visit. Like, they'll reach out to the renter and say, are you available this day? Because right, like, they'll coordinate it. They'll send out the reminders. If the renter's like, hey, I'm running late from work, they'll shoot the vendor a text or an email saying, hey, take your time at at the job that you're at right now, because this person's running late, right? Like, coordinates everything in real time.
So who gave Gracie all the information about the garbage disposal? Or did she come in already knowing about a certain set of maintenance, typical?
The latter, but both. So your RU comes with the knowledge and experience of our chief property manager, David Norman. He's been in the property management industry for 22 years now. In 2009, his business was bought by Fannie Mae, so that he could then run their maintenance across the country when they became accidental property managers. And then shortly thereafter, he was picked up by three other large financial institutions that had no idea about the laws associated with rentals. And then he was managing maintenance for 42,000 units?
I think we're talking too much about David right now, right? So
But
we love David.
that's the knowledge and experience
Yeah.
that he trained the AI on, is his ability to troubleshoot all of that.
To start, and then over the last 2 years.
Yeah, and then the AI has learned off of how many million are we up to? Millions of work orders that it's been processing and troubleshooting. It's learned from that experience and created more of a global troubleshooting knowledge. And then you get the added benefit of being able to tailor that to your region, to your experience, to your business. Maybe you don't want to have residents do certain things, or maybe you really want the resident to try literally everything before submitting the work order. It'll walk them through all of that based on your guidelines.
Yeah. One of my property managers in Florida uses us. The first time that started using it, there was a water heater problem, and her RU reached out and said, hey, can you go down to the basement and check the water heater? And it's like, hey, we're in Florida, no basements here, right? So there's like some nuance that you'll have to train it, and it's up to you, but it already comes in with this like high level of experience of like general knowledge of maintenance. And then the rest of it, our onboarding, you want to just kind of like talk about our onboarding. essentially a conversation with your AI advisor of the things that you want to like adopt in your thing, and they will create those policies, right size them for you, train the AI on it, get you going. So normalize it before it scales, but not put it on your plate to do.
Most of the setup comes from giving it a copy of your PMA and your leasing agreement and having it analyze that and tailor its logic to what is documented about your business.
And it'll analyze, like your work order history and tell you, yeah, these are your policies, but this is how you've been performing. Do you want this or do you want this?
Yeah, and that turns into a quick conversation with your AI adoption advisor or your onboarding coach to guide you through that process.
So it'll know, okay, Gracie, can you look and say, you know what, it looks like we just gave you a new garbage disposal last month. I mean, does it like go through and check all, or you have to tell it to be sure and check all the past work orders?
So it didn't used to, but it does now. It used to only be able to see work orders that it had worked on, but now it has full work order history to that unit. So it reads the work order history in AppFolio of what you've done.
Yeah, so it'll know stuff like that. It'll know like, oh, we should, the order of like how humans make decisions in something like this is generally like, I have my general knowledge, my lived experience. I'm probably gonna like lean into that. I might remember, oh, we have a different policy. I gotta go check into that. And maybe I kind of remember this unit. I should look in the notes and see if there's an exception here. The AI does it the other way around. It starts inside the notes and like knows that that's kind of like if there's something there that's going to supersede the other things, then it'll check your policies and procedures, and then it'll rely on its general knowledge as well. So that's kind of like the order of operations in order to allow you to continue to do it the way that you would normally do it. Anything else?
The one question I have is, does it work with...
Yes, it works.
Does it work in tandem with Property Meld?
Yeah.
Not really. So when Property Meld takes a work order, it converts it into a meld in the Meld infrastructure, and then doesn't put any of that information back into the work order until it's done. Well, it doesn't. It can update at specific times, but it's not going to pull new information out of the work order. So if you're having your RU working side by side with it, it can really, if you're running things through Meld, it will really stop once triage and troubleshooting is done, because that's going to be a kind of a stopping point where anything beyond that isn't going to get updated into the Meld, which is where you need to be working, because Property Meld has you use their interface for it, so it doesn't integrate with that interface. So not fully, but it does. So yeah, Meld is designed to make your team's workflow more efficient. Our AI, Vendoroo, is designed to take things off of your team's plate so that you don't need to be in there in the first place.
The answer is, early on we would do kind of like these manual integrations with Meld, and yes, people that worked with us in Meld ended up leaving Meld and just doing Vendoroo. It's not really necessary if you have Vendoroo doing the thing. Did you have a question?
Yeah, you mentioned it could anticipate if there's going to be a poor customer service experience and let you know. How does it let you, like, do you have to like press a button that says, hey, tell me how my customers are doing, or is it going to like send me a text message saying, hey, your customer's about to be mad?
So what he's going to be doing is he'll bring up our command center so that you can see what that looks like. But the short answer is you can set up trigger conditions so it'll notify you, but with the command center, you don't even really need that, because it will it'll give you a display of here's just your resident sentiment. Here is where the negative sentiments are. You can see it in real time as it's happening. I'll get out of your way so you can actually see. So this is what this report looks like. So basically, this is saying this is one of our clients. They have 2 frustrated residents. One's from a missed appointment, one's from a scheduling delay. Overall, their resident sentiment score is 58.1. That's a fairly neutral sentiment score. Just keep in mind that we're talking about maintenance issues, so there's always something wrong, otherwise they wouldn't be submitting the maintenance request. So they start off fairly negative. So when we're looking at this one here, this one has an issue. It was a missed appointment. The vendor didn't make the appointment window. So that's where, again, we could lean into that and call that vendor, go, hey, you missed the appointment window. What happened? That can't happen. And then at least try to smooth things over, get everything rescheduled and taken care of with the resident to elevate that experience. That obviously has not happened yet because their RU would be able to log that in the work order and update all of this so that you'd see the sentiment go back out of decline. So that way you're able to track all of that. And you're actually able to see there's this little brain icon as well. So you're actually able to give it feedback on this sentiment and tell it, yes, this is kind of accurate after you've talked to the resident. So this is turning into a source for you to actually validate that the insights that your AI is giving you are correct. Or if they're wrong, you can adjust the behavior and tell it why it's wrong.
So you can set it up to send you these alerts. You get a weekly email of kind of like happiest residents, unhappiest residents. But at the end of the day, when you're doing maintenance, right? Like you wake up in the morning, you handle the escalations, and then you just kind of like check in on this, like once a day or so, right? To see, is anybody upset? And this becomes the new workflow, is checking in on this, checking in on I had told you about the vendor.
It's the top one.
Maintenance metrics. Right, like, yeah.
Yeah, but
This is their vendor.
yeah,
Yeah, this is their vendor database, right? Like looking in at these different kind of things. This becomes your job, right? Instead of like handling every single work order, you're just kind of like monitoring this stuff and seeing how you can add value.
the other thing that you can do with that is rather than just looking at the fires, you can also look at the ones that are having a neutral sentiment, that your interaction can turn that positive and turn into a good review, or soliciting the reviews out of the people who are having a positive experience. Because only 5% of people are going to submit reviews if you don't solicit them, and it's mostly the ones that are bad. So soliciting reviews when somebody is at the peak of a good experience is the right time to do it.
I think Devin wants us off the stage. I just want to say, we're not going to sell you anything tonight. We want to get to know you more tonight at dinner. But tomorrow we're going to be set up over here. Anybody that wants to like have a demo, go through the thing, at that point we'd love to sell you our services. But we'd just love to get to know you more tonight and definitely want to talk to everybody tomorrow. Thank you. Thanks, man.